Thank you once again for showing interest in Property Market Analyzer. In this video, I'm going to go over with you how I go about exporting the data and importing that into the Excel template. First, we'll start out with selecting the data. So for the purposes of this video, I've already gone through the process, but I'll kind of show you exactly what I did. So the property that we're analyzing it's going to be in a cookie cutter subdivision. So there's going to be plenty of data for this type of property. Although sometimes we work in rural areas or work on unique properties where there's very few data points. And I'll explain that to you in a later video of how we handle that in this type of analysis in this tool. So I did my filters as far as square footage. I'm using sold properties. I'm looking at data over the last 2 years or 24 months. The reason I use data from that time frame is if you only select data within the past 12 months or past year, you're not going to be able to utilize the year-over-year charts. And so you'll have fewer charts to analyze how the market's changing over time. And so if that's not important to you, then you can only filter with the last 12 months of data if you want. But again, I like to use the last 24 months of data when I'm exporting information from MLS. It's easy to do, it's quick, so it's really not much more time than selecting properties from the last 12 months. Again, I'm going down and I've selected the parish or county, and I've selected a specific area that's competing with each other. I've selected properties that are new construction all the way to 5 years old, with at least 3 bedrooms, at least 2 bathrooms, and 0 to half an acre of land. That's just how my MLS filters data. Yours will probably be different. But once I've done that filtering, I've got a total of 309 properties. Now, I've already gone through and I've selected properties that I believe are competing with my property. And so of those selected properties, I have 165 properties. And so that'll be important when it comes to exporting this information. This will be considered the market segment data that we're going to paste into the report. We've already reviewed how to set up a custom export, but once you've got your data selected, you need to then go through the process of exporting it. In my MLS, we have these 3 dots towards the top right-hand side of the screen. I'll select that, and then there's an export option. We'll select that as well. The first thing you'll see is selected data to be exported. We can either select all 309 records or just the selected 165 records. Since this is for my market segment, I'm going to select the second option, which is just the selected properties. Next, you have the select the type of export. It automatically comes up with this generic text export, but for my MLS, I have to select custom text export. And when I select this option, it gives me a list of all the exports I've created over time. I'm selecting the market analyzer for this one. So now that I've selected the properties that will be exported and the type of export that's going to be completed, I'm going to scroll down and select this export button. And it should automatically pop up on the screen. And so then here's my market data. The way my MLS works is the first row is the header for each column. And so you know exactly which column or what's in each column. When you're pasting this into the template, you want to make sure you leave that top row out. So you'll select row 2 and all the way down to the bottom. But let's go back to our MLS before we do that. So we also want to export our neighborhood data. And so the neighborhood would be all properties within the neighborhood, not just the ones that are competing. And so I view this area P, as being my neighborhood for this property. So I'm going to unselect all of the filters that I have. I'll keep it with the 2-year range or 24 months, but I'll unselect the age filter, the bedroom, bathroom, acreage range, and the living area. So now we have all the sold properties that have occurred in this area in the last 24 months. And we can go ahead and export this information as well. So we'll go through the same process. We'll select the 3 dots at the top right-hand side of the screen. We'll select export. Now this time, I'm going to export every record. I still have the ones that are selected, which sometimes I'll start a new tab and then just export that information. This one, I just decided to use what was already there. So I'm selecting all 778 records. Again, I want to go down to this custom text export. I'm going to select that option, and then I'm and select that one. Then we'll scroll down to export once again. Now there's a third set of data that you need to export. For the purposes of this video, I'll just copy and paste some of the data that's already exported. You want to export the comparables that are going to be in your report, and I'll show you why once we start analyzing the data in a separate video. But for now, we have both the market segment data that was exported as well as the neighborhood data. So let's go to our template real quick, and then we'll import the data into the template. The first page that you see are the instructions. You'll need to read through all of that information. One important note is the effective date, which is always going to be the current date. If you're doing a retrospective appraisal, you'll want to be sure to change that date. But the places where we're going to input the data, there are two different spots. The first tab will be the 01 market data input. This is going to be where the market segment data is imported. Let's go to that data real quick. Again, we do not want this first row if your first row has the column headers. If I've seen some MLSs where it doesn't include that, so if it does not include the headers, then you'll select all of it. If you're going to select all of it, you can do Control. You put your cursor in column A, row 1, and select that cell. You'll do Control A, and that'll select all of your data quickly. If you're like me and you have to leave that first column out, what you need to do is put your cursor in cell A2 and select it. You'll hold down Shift and Control, and then you'll hit to the right button, and that'll select all the cells in that row with data in it. You'll keep Control and Shift held down on your keyboard, and then you'll hit the down button, and that'll now highlight everything in this sheet except for the top row. Next, you'll do Control C for copying the data. And when you see the lines moving on the edges of it, you'll know that everything within those lines have been copied. Now we go back to our market or our template, and you're going to look down here. This is the market segment data. So in column B, row 25, the top left yellow tab, we're going to select that tab. Now we're going to do Control V, which pastes all of the data in there. You can paste it a couple different ways. You can right-click this cell, and you have your paste options right there. Or you can go to the top, and you have different paste options there as well. I like Control V because it's very quick. As I mentioned before, I'm just going to select some data from this data set to be the comparables within the report. And so I'll just select these 4 right here. I'll do Shift, Control, over. And again, Control C to copy. I'm going to go back up. So the comparables start in column B, row 10. Again, the upper left yellow cell, we're going to select that, and Control V will paste it all. So if you exported your comparable separately, again, you'd copy that data in here. Again, leaving out the column headers when you're copying it and pasting it in. If you see in row 9, this is our subject data. I typically fill all this information out myself as opposed to exporting it. If it's a refinance, you're not going to have that information. If it's under contract, you will, and you could paste it, but I find it easier just to input that information. So for this video, I'm just going to enter in some dummy data. Okay, so now I've entered in the dummy data for my subject property, and I'll show you quickly why it's important to include all of this information. Because when we go to the next tab, all of the charts and graphs are filled out. And these scatter plots, we highlight the subject property, which is the orange triangle, which is identified at the bottom of the chart, as well as the comparables, which are yellow diamonds. All the other properties in the market segment are going to be blue dots. And so if you don't put data in this top section, those will not be filled out. I like having that in the charts because it shows how the subject property compares to A, the comparables, and B, the larger market segment. And so you don't have to do that, but I like the visual of that. I think it helps tell our reader what's going on and how the subject property compares to the other properties in the report. Let's go back to the neighborhood data now. We'll go to our neighborhood sheet. And again, we don't want this top row in our Excel template. It'll mess a lot of things up. So if you paste everything the first time and you see the charts are off, make sure you go check to see that you don't have these column headers already pasted into the report. So we'll select cell A2, and again, Shift Control to the right on your keyboard, and then Control C will copy it. We go to the template. Again, we're in column B, row 11, the top left yellow box. We're going to select that cell and Control V, paste all the data in there. And if we look at the charts quickly, everything's filled out. We'll go into more detail about analyzing this information in the next video. But I hope that this information was helpful for you. And if you have any questions with exporting data and importing it into the template, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you.